So the game of golf is largely built on concepts, correct or not. And I'm always trying to use examples from life, sports, things that people have done. I use the hammer and the nail analogy a good bit. And I've actually gotten so demonstrative that I've brought in a hammer and a nail. And I used to just tell people this, but now when I have a client comes in, if they're right-handed, I will ask them to hold the nail with their dominant hand, and I'll tell them, hit that nail as hard as you can. And the typical response is maybe an expletive or two, but no, absolutely not. And I'll say, okay, well, just tap it a couple of times, and now hit as hard as you can. And again, the answer is no, not doing it. The obvious answer is the consequences of smashing your finger, even though you know what to do. You have not created the motor patterns and the skill to trust doing this. As it relates to golf, when you're trying to make changes, or even when you're trying to learn how the club in your hand works, if you don't have the time to understand the motion of it and figure that out, no one takes a hammer and takes it as far back as they can and swings as hard as they can. It just, you wouldn't do it for so many reasons. What I try to further explain to people is if the ball's the nail, your club head needs to be about that big, and it's not. This hammer and this nail, you're really not moving more than 6 inches. And no one I've ever met, I don't think anyone's ever existed that hits the nail exactly precisely in the center of the hammerhead. And yet we think we're going to come pound golf balls in full speed as hard as we can without really even understanding how the tool in your hand's designed. The ability to measure all these things, combined with knowing how our brains work, the science that we now have to explain to people why just knowing something isn't going to change a reflex. And for most people, whether they've swung, they've hit a ball one time, or whether they've been playing for a year or 30, you've created a reflex. When the ball's in the equation, when the club's in your hand, and you're trying to, whatever it is you're trying to do, hit the ball, hit down on the ball, lift the ball, whatever that may be, swinging as hard as you can, trying to figure that out is just not the most effective way to do it. As kids, like young kids, absolutely. That's the best thing you can possibly do. It's because kids have neuroplasticity and they just learn a lot more effectively. Have them swing as hard as they can. They'll figure out the subtleties and the nuances, but they'll figure it out the way a kid figures things out. As an adult, if you didn't learn as a kid, or you didn't pretty quickly understand how the club, the tool in your hand is designed to interact with the ball and what the physics of that are, in a slow speed where you actually feel it and you can't cheat with speed and time, you're going to struggle. Your brain is going to help you as much as it can, but when you're fighting physics and gravity, you're only going to reach your potential because you're fighting things that you'll never completely overcome. I really try to get people better at golf. I'm not trying to get quick fixes. They're not lasting. They don't exist. My job is not to fix your swing. It's to give you the resources, the concepts, the tools to help yourself. Only you can fix your swing, and that's a subjective term. Fix your swing. You can get better. I don't think that most people understand the time that it takes, and it's a difficult sport. And if you're doing a lot of things that are physically impossible, it doesn't get any easier. If you want to improve your game and are willing to work, I'd love to be able to help you. I've gone through this for 30 years. I'm still learning things about my own swing. I'm still learning things about poor concepts, things that have been said, taught for 40 or 50 years that we just know aren't true. Most people are trying to do something that physically is impossible. When it's predicated around where the ball goes and you're fighting physics and gravity, you can see how people just end up more confused, more frustrated, and it's already a hard enough game. You don't have to make it any harder. So come see me, Upstate Golf RX, and if you want to work at getting better at your game, I'll work as hard as anybody. I can help you actually get better at golf. So come see me. Thanks.